Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure unto the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. I'm going to start it off in Revelation chapter 6, verse 5. And the header reads, the third seal, famine. And this is dealing with the so-called four horsemen of the apocalypse, which are just symbolic for things that would be taking place during the last days, which we're currently living in. Really the last seconds, microseconds of the last days. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when we get that word penny in the Strongs, it's G1220. Denarion, which in the outline of biblical usage says a Roman silver coin in New Testament times. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages, and in the ancient world, a man was paid for his labors, his work, that very same day. And it's the same way according to the law in the scriptures. It's not like today where, most people get paid every 2 weeks. So relating this to modern times, somebody's damn near their entire paycheck to pay for a decreasing amount of goods. What does that sound like? Shrinkflation. And we know that, there's a cost of living crisis and inflation taking place, in the United States of America and in a lot of these Western countries. And it's only going to intensify from here on out. Which brings me to this clip from Large Man Abroad's YouTube channel titled, U.S. economy is breaking. New inflation is about to crush Americans. A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. And as I said, the denarion, or that penny, was the primary silver coin of the Roman Empire. Well, America is Rome reincarnated. So look at that denarion as that US dollar, which is constantly losing, its purchasing power. But I'm going to play the first couple of minutes or so of this clip. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Inflation. It's something that's been on the American mind really since the pandemic, where we saw the prices of everything go up 50%, 100%, some cases 200%. The prices doubled in what seemed like it was overnight. And kind of the collective trauma that the American public, especially the working class, went through has really lingered on to this point now. With the economic uncertainty that we have in America right now, there's a lot of doom and gloom that's going on, but a lot of it's for the right reasons. The effects of the tariffs have really only started to begun to show themselves throughout the country, especially in the West Coast. But as we see those intensify and drift throughout the country, those consequences are going to be a lot more apparent. Now, what does that have to do with inflation? The government's going to do what the government thinks is the right thing to do, and this administration is the same administration that was in power during the days of COVID. So what did they do last time when the U.S. economy took a big downturn and people were suffering, people were losing their jobs? They started writing checks. And I think that that's something that we might see again soon. There's already been talks of stimulus checks bouncing around Capitol Hill. Now, what happens if that goes into effect? And is that even a possibility? What we've seen over the past couple days on Capitol Hill is that a new bill to raise the debt ceiling in America by $4.2 to $5 trillion looks like it's going to be passed. A lot of the talks and promises that were made by this administration when they came into power was all about lowering the national debt. By cutting federal jobs and slashing social programs, it was supposed to save up enough money that we were going to have a surplus by the end of the year. and not a deficit. If that's the case, then why are we going to go ahead and raise the debt ceiling by another $5 trillion? I honestly do believe that this is because the consequences of those tariffs haven't hit. And although they've been rolled back from 145% to 30%, that 30% is still going to kill a lot of small businesses, and that's a 30% tax essentially on the American people on top of sales tax that they already have to pay. So in a way, these tariffs already act as supplemental inflation. Now, when the consequence...
A measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And all that stimulus money that was printed back during the pestilence further decreased the purchasing power of the US dollar. And with these talks of more possible stimulus checks and raising the debt ceiling, that's just going to increase the devaluation. And as you said, hey, these tariffs, whether they be dropped down to 30% or whatever, is still going to wreak havoc on the middle class and small businesses. And we saw how many small businesses went out back to 2019 to 2021. Hey, again, it's only going to get worse from here on out. And it's not just because this guy is looking at the economic data. We know first and foremost through biblical prophecy. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I'm going to read verses 3 to 4. In the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble, those that are in the economy, in Wall Street, and these economists that look at these things. And, when Trump had first put those tariffs in place and they were at astronomical numbers, hey, these people are really getting worried out here. And, they're going to continue to worry as this economic situation continues to deteriorate. And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders or workers, how Jake likes to say, I'm on that grind, cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. People, looking into the future with things to come just by reading the news or whatever, and having a darkened outlook, which, if you watch that man's YouTube channel, Large Man Abroad, damn near the majority of his videos, is him looking out of the windows and then being darkened, talking about how the living situation's going to get worse in America, the government's going to become tyrannical, it's time to leave the country, etc., etc. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding, working is low. So what? Businesses going out of business, shutting up shop, or what? Laying off workers in mass numbers, which, I've done a few videos recently talking about how there are thousands to 10,000s of workers from mid-level to large companies being laid off. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and the daughters of music shall be brought low.
Of these tariffs hit and scarcity takes hold of the American mindset again, what happens next? How does the government edge back the call for accountability that would come from the public once the economy really starts to collapse and we start to go into recession? Well, they'll bribe them, of course, because this is a fitting thing and this is what they did. And this was a popular measure that was done during the pandemic. And what we realized from the insane spending from the pandemic, although a lot of the stimulus checks were needed, the impact of printing that much money had huge effects down the road that we're still suffering from today. Price of assets and common products all over the country, doesn't matter what it is higher. And that's simply because the dollar has been devalued so much that has the buying power of about half of what it did just 10 years ago. So
a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny.
In case of a new economic emergency, it's absolutely on the table that stimulus checks will be put out again, along with the same massive bailouts to small businesses and Wall Street. It's all on the table, and it all leads to a spike in more inflation. We devalue the dollar just by another 25 or 30%, and then you still have a potential 10 to 30% tariff on all incoming goods. It leads to a real bad place for the American people. This will crush Americans. This kind of inflation coming in, whether it's real or whether it's the effect of tariffs, is going to crush American people. It's going to push people out of their homes. It's going to make food insecurity a big deal again. It's going to absolutely destroy the working poor of America. And by going ahead and cutting away a lot of the social programs, welfare, and Section 8 that these people rely on, increasing prices by 30, 40, 50% by tariffs and inflation is the death knell to the economy. Just is. Because at that point, the negative impacts of all these decisions will far outweigh any benefit that comes 4 or 5 years down the road, if there's going to be any to begin with. Because if our economy weakens so much that the American confidence, not just our economy, but in our country, wavers that much, it's blood in the water to our real or economic enemies all over the world. The question is this being done on purpose? If they're going to go ahead and raise the debts,
And we'll end it there. And this is being done on purpose. First and foremost by Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, to fulfill prophecy. And then these elites, which are controlled by the Lord, who want to do what? Crash the system, crash the dollar, and bring in that great RESET, that fourth industrial revolution, that NWO, where people are going to be using what? Digital currencies, digital dollar, CBDCs, and on that blockchain. And what is going to be the middleman between you and society and using those CBDCs is going to be the MARKOFTHEBEAST, which is the RFID/NFC micro C-hip implant. Hey, you've been having Donald Trump over the last couple of months talk about making America the crypto capital of the world. You've had pennies being taken out of circulation, as well as the use of paper checks and, talks by Elon Musk, for example, of putting the treasury on the blockchain, and what? That a UBI, or a universal basic income, it would be necessary in the future. And with the dollar's, value, purchasing power decreasing, more and more people losing jobs, and the push for AI and robotics, it's the perfect storm to bring about that C-hip, that solution to everyone's problems. This is Revelation 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, that he being the elite rulers of the planet right now, who are of the nation of Esau, Edom, so-called white man, such as the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you name it, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, everyone in society. And you can look at people in America from all these different walks of life. They're complaining about the cost of living crisis. To receive MARK, that C-hip implant, in their right hand or in their foreheads. And what is Elon Musk known for? Neuralink, that BCI, or brain computer interface. And recently Apple just announced that they want to come with their own BCIs, so that people can access their iPhones and other Apple products with their minds. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, get a job, travel abroad, do anything in society. They have that social credit score, just like in China, but linked to your C-hip, save he that had the MARK, or the name of the BEAST, or the number of his name. And as it says in Isaiah 55, verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth, through his mouthpiece, the prophets. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. And Isaiah 34 and 16, seek ye out of the book of Yahweh, the scriptures, and read. No one of these prophecies shall fail. And finally, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, though it tarry, wait for it will surely come. It will not tarry. And as we can clearly see, these prophecies are no longer tarrying, but are ramping up exponentially. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.